Welcome back to the Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture.
Keep going.
I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
Jody Kite.
This is a very awkward opening.
Yeah, what do you mean? It's our opening theme
Yeah,
song.
it's
I
always
the
really
opening
good
theme
when you
song.
don't when you pull things and don't tell anybody that you're going to be doing things differently.
yeah.
That's always fun.
Since you're pulling some strings,
Yes.
why don't you tell us
Needs
what
to
you've
smooth
been what's been
going.
There
happening?
you go. Okay, well, I'm up first. Okay, more Age of Sigmar. I'm hooked back in the hobby again, proper. Getting ready to play 2,000 points against the man to my left right now. Gonna be not right now, but tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. It's the first time I think we've pulled together all of the rules for this latest season. Unless Brady, have you done?
No, we've been playing full rules before.
Oh, okay. But it's the first time I've been playing full rules, so it'd be pretty cool there. I kept picking out a grand strategy that works for me. My grand strategies suck for the most part as far as what I've got built, because like one of them requires that like only my dragons are left, and I have no dragons, so immediately I'm defeated there. I if I were playing Blades of Corn, I know exactly which one I would pick, which is basically the one where you make sure no wizards are left on the board. It's very thematic for them. I think it's like Scourge of Sorcery or something like that. So that's pretty cool there. And then just kind of getting up and painting with my Gloomspite army. I'm started on Scragrot, the Loon King, which that's a really characterful model. He has a cloak and two little squigs like are carrying it like so that it doesn't touch the ground. It's pretty nice, even though most of it is touching the ground. Also, then so a thing happened Saturday called the Royal Rumble. It was a good time watching. It was myself, the guys from Whiskey and Wrestling, Jason Older and Michael Hill, along with Caitlin Slife Hill, which is Michael's wife. So that was pretty cool. And we just sat back and I enjoyed the event. I really did. After the week that was in the WWE, it was a nice thing to be able to celebrate wrestling. Even though there were definitely dark clouds around that.
Yeah, you're on the latest podcast.
Yeah,
episode.
the latest episode of Whiskey and Wrestling that will have come out. Not by the time you hear this, there will probably be another episode in between, but it was an audience discretion episode where we talked about the allegations against Vince McMahon. Not to belabor the point, it's vile. I'm glad he has resigned. I'm kind of curious as to what further fallout's going to come from this, because every kind of thing kind of points towards that, as far as Ari Emanuel being in charge of Endeavor, which I didn't realize that Endeavor had like canceled contracts with Saudi Arabia based off of I believe the Khashoggi murder. The only reason why they established those back because of who they had on the board that had ties with Saudi Arabia, which was Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
So it's this evil Ouroboros. Like it's one of our favorite words for the last like couple of Ouroboros. So
Ouroboros.
So yeah, but to get back to the good in wrestling, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it. Like I was more committed to watch it after that news because I wanted to be reminded of why I like wrestling. I thought the Women's Rumble was.
I loved the
I think the Women's Rumble was the best thing on the show.
Just looking at it on paper, the Women's Rumble did look very good.
I argue it's the best Women's Rumble since the Women's Rumble was introduced to the product.
That was 2018, with Oscar being the first one.
17 or 18.
It was 17 or 18. I can't remember.
That sounds about right, so I'm going to go with it. But they didn't have to rely on retired legends. That's one of the things that Bailey mentioned in the post conference was the fact that it was pretty much 30 active, and I won't say like evident challengers for the title, but there were a lot of people in that match that I could have conceivably seen winning it.
Jade Cargill.
Well, before we get to Jade Cargill, I want to talk about Jordan
Grace.
Grace. I was about to. That was
Everybody
a great
lost
surprise.
their shit on that.
Yeah.
That was a great
That was
surprise, and what I loved about it is she wasn't made to look like an idiot.
Right.
She immediately got into it with
She
Naomi.
got a big pop too when she came out.
Yeah, because I think that was again just the surprise of it just the quality of her wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And the way she was eliminated is the way you want to be eliminated. It's a big moment. It's a big spot. It's something that people will talk about.
Right.
I'd argue she's probably the biggest surprise entry for the
For me, it was
for the
Cargill.
women's.
It was still Cargill.
Cargill, yeah.
She's been, and only because she's been sitting on the shelf for so long, I thought they would wait till WrestleMania. That being said, holy hell, what an introduction!
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you think it's going to be her and Becky at WrestleMania in a match? Just in the match?
No, I think it's still going to be. It's going to be Becky and I would even go so far to say is I would have told you Becky Rhea easy because they're the two best women like that. I feel Nia Jax has a chance,
Right.
and not for any good reason, in my opinion. It's just sort of the let's fucking stomp out Rhea. There's also like the way she got on the Raw afterward kind of makes me wonder if they're trying to turn Rhea face, and it's a weird dynamic. I like Rhea, so I would like to see her as a face, but I don't know how her character right now would work as a face.
Right.
Especially with her still with Judgment Day.
Even with I could see that whole you could have convinced me at one point Judgment Day they would have tried to turn them all face just because of the reactions they get from crowds. The only anchor keeping them heel is Dom Mysterio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think also the fact that the longer that he stays with Rhea Ripley, the longer his heat's going to last. Right. Because whenever that little, group breaks up between just him and her, I don't see him
He has natural heat.
He does, but I think also one of the reasons why he has as much heat as he does is because people do want Rhea to turn face, and that's not going to happen as long as she's with Dominic Mysterio in the current scheme of things.
I feel he has yet to hit his ceiling on hate.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
He's going to have to
That's
do
just
something really, really, screw her over in a match, or something.
Throw Brock Lesnar over the top rope, which that's another rumor.
yeah.
So Lesnar's looped in with the allegations. I won't go any deep in that other than that, again, it is disgusting. But they had to do a quick change around. And I will say this, Braun Breaker,
Oh yeah,
what a initial, that's another great introduction.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
Good
he
pop
came
there,
in there, tore house,
right.
got eliminated by the person I would like, even if that was the Brock spot, having him get eliminated by
Right.
Dominic Mysterio, I think is a great thing for him
Right.
because it
From
sets
what
him up really good.
from what Holder was telling me, literally they just because he was reading something about it when we were at trivia, was that they literally everything that Brock Lesnar did, they
Right.
just had Braun do,
Yeah.
and they found because they decided that the day of, and they
Right,
were like,
which was literally 2 days
You're-
before the pay.
they were like, okay, you're going his spot, you're going to eliminate this person, this person, this person. You're going to get eliminated by this person.
Mhm.
So
Do you think
from what he said, it is just they swapped.
Mhm.
They literally backspace, add an in onto the name. That's it.
I would have gone with copy F, replace.
Yeah.
And I got something to say.
I don't
after
know
you.
all the little shortcuts.
Shortcuts. there you go.
I like to
Control F.
believe that because of the one spot where Breaker and Omos were having that little stare down, because if he actually did replace Brock, that would kind of explain this stare down because of the Lesnar Omos match
from last WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay.
taking out any sort of botches or mistakes that happen where someone accidentally gets eliminated. From what I've heard, when they plan the Rumble match, they plan everything. They plan who's eliminating who's getting eliminated by who, when it to a degree, when it happens, around what time it happens, as far as okay, after this next person comes out, you wait 2 minutes or 1 minute, and then you eliminate this person. Those things are already set in stone a week or 2 weeks before the show even happens. So that's another main reason why they did that, because they already have it's already scripted. The whole match is already scripted.
Yeah.
Why would they change it? They just replace Brock Lesnar
Well, and
with
there's
Braun Breaker.
so many moving parts in that match.
That's what it comes down to. There's a lot of moving parts. The men's Rumble was interesting at parts, depending on pops of people coming out or whatnot. But there was a lull when it was mid-card mania for a minute there.
Well, after 1 and 2, where you had Jimmy and Jay meet for the first time since they were separated.
That was a
on
hot
brands.
opening.
That was great. I think
Yeah.
it was great there. The problem that you run into there is there were 4 people that could have won the men's Rumble the way it was set up.
Mm-hmm.
Cody, Punk, Drew, and
Gunther.
Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
Those 4. All of them from Raw brand, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
if one of them would have been there like around 5 to 10,
Right. It would
I
have
don't think
carried.
you'd have had that problem.
It would have carried the match.
first one that enters is Cody at 15.
Right.
And once him and Gunther were able to get in it, now
started
it's really
picking
picked
up.
up.
It started
and now
picking up.
Punk's in, and
Right.
now Drew's in.
Right.
Now, okay. Now the stage is set.
But
yeah,
from
there
3
was
to
about
15.
There was about 10 minutes. Well, I can't even say it was necessarily 10 minutes because
Right.
2 minutes is like 30 seconds sometimes in that
Yeah.
in that rumble.
Yeah, because
of how
they counted the
portion everything out.
entrances as timing.
I liked the Logan Paul Kevin Owens match.
Right,
I thought it told a really
That was
good
a good
story.
finish.
I thought it was an exceptional finish, except that's the first time in 10 years a ref did his job. And then the Roman Reigns match was vanilla grits.
Yeah.
It just was.
I think my favorite part is just Gunther and McIntyre just having a chop fest on Cody.
My
and
favorite
CM
part,
Punk. And they were
well,
kind of like one-upping each other with their chops.
I had many favorite parts of the Rumble. One of my favorite things, though, was like, when Becky got eliminated, the look on her face, and then when they went back to her after the Rumble was over, she had the same look on her face. She was so mad and disappointed at the
There
same
was a
time.
really good backstage segment that I watched where Becky was very depressed and eating chocolate, and Kevin Owens like comes and psychs her up.
Nice.
It was pretty funny.
Just another shout out to Jade
was like
Cargill
just-
because she eliminated both her and Naomi. Again,
Yeah.
if you're gonna give a hello, welcome to the
Right.
WWE.
Well,
I
didn't
think
she
that was
strong
terrific.
arm Nia Jax
She strong-armed
over the
Nia.
top
Yes.
rope by
Yeah.
herself?
She picked her up
Yes,
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
You had multiple moments where like 5, 6, 8 people were
Right.
trying and they couldn't do anything with
Yeah,
her, and
she
she just
just,
put
like,
her on her shoulders
right.
and
Yeah.
just dropped her down. I was like,
Right.
And the face Becky had as the camera kind of pans over to
Right.
her,
Right.
and then her and Jay just go at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also say for Bailey, at least in my opinion on this now to me solidifies her as Hall of Fame bound.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the last empty jigsaw piece there
Right.
that I think she needed, and she got it.
And men's Rumble, Cody back-to-back Rumbles.
Back to back.
Back to back rumbles. That final was very good,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna give credit to Punk for this. To do that with a tricep that had just been fucking snapped off, and to be able to continue on to that, I
Mm-hmm. Right.
have to give him respect for that.
Right.
That could have just been throw me over. It's over.
That,
like no, they
that-
went for it.
That promo that Seth cut on Cody the following night about the
Yeah.
title and why to go after his title instead of the other one was a pretty good promo.
I'm with Steve from Steven Larson on this
However,
one.
yeah.
Like Cody should fire back. I got embarrassed last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand what you're talking about as far as the title goes, but
Right.
like, I get a chance to redeem myself from that loss.
Yeah, because the promo that he like, they're probably gonna wait a couple weeks, at least one, but they probably need a couple of weeks because I have to agree with like Luke from Wrestle Talk, and that if there's no more promo work and he just decides to go for the Raw title, it actually diminishes the Universal title because the promo was so good at putting the Raw title over. If he goes after the Universal Championship, it makes the Raw title seem like it's not worth anything. So there needs to be some more promo work to kind of build both titles up before he makes his decision.
We also have that the whole card is in a state of flux because
is.
of all of the injuries.
Yeah.
Do you think Punk like tearing his tricep kind of like threw a wrench in?
100%, 150%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't give that man that much money to come back for one match and be injured.
The first premium live event to tear a tricep and
His
possibly
first
not-
wrestling match, right? Since he's been back.
His first televised.
Televised.
Right.
He's been doing. He did the Madison Square Garden show with Dom, and I thought that was a good match. It was a very patterned match. Like, it was we're going into this, and now we're going into this, and now we're going into this. I think he needed about maybe another month's worth of actual work and actual televised work in the ring to kind of
Right.
get him up to speed. That's just my opinion on that one, but yeah.
To me, you don't allow Seth and Punk to do that good of a promo the following Monday that Punk returns, only for them to not give us Punk versus Seth at WrestleMania.
Well, they
CM Punk
can't
would
now.
not have come back if he wouldn't have at least gotten a title shot.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so that is it for me.
All right, Brady, what you got?
So this past weekend, on Saturday, instead of watching the Royal Rumble, which I kind of had no interest in, I went and took my daughter to her first concert, and that first concert was to see the band Tool. So I have ruined all future concerts. There's nothing that is going to I can't think, like, I don't know, shit. Like, that's a hard one to top. I mean, they had lasers. They had.
I'm sorry.
They were
like,
good lasers.
They had lasers.
They
I'm sure they were good.
They dropped confetti at one point that looked like snow. I did not expect that. Yeah,
It might have actually flown in snow.
I mean, possibly.
Might have been.
Could have been nuclear fallout.
Yeah, we like.
It's just
Spoilers.
If you've never seen Tool in concert, I've only seen them twice, and it was like. I saw them February of 2020. It was the last concert that I went to
before the world shut down.
Before the world shut down.
Right before.
So if I never would have gotten to see another concert, that would have been okay, I guess. But Tool is a very good live concert. They do a very good job. Everything sounds just fucking great.
feel like
they have a great stage show. There was like giant screens all over the place. The two boxes on the side, giant boxes on the side that Maynard would sing on, because he never sings directly in front. He has to be kind of in back on either side of the drum of the gigantic fucking drums set that Danny Carey has. That had also like an LED boards all across it. There were like crazy visuals that were constantly being shown. Yeah, I'm sorry. You were saying something.
I feel like the entire Mississippi Gulf Coast was at that concert, just from the word of like how much traffic.
As it was letting out, it did feel like it. Because that's a man. I don't understand how it was easier to get out of the fucking in and out of the fucking Smoothie King Center than it was getting in and out of the fucking Coliseum. Jesus Christ!
Mm-hmm.
But
I'll take a quick little stab at that.
well, I know why. It's just fucking ridiculous.
New Orleans is used to concerts of that magnitude. Biloxi isn't.
Well,
in my opinion.
But I have a feeling that there's a thing that happens all the time, and it's because all the parking lots are just roughshod thrown all together.
Because anytime, even like when they rebuilt it and all that, they still didn't fucking like learn from how to do that. Like when they rebuilt the whole entire thing many moons ago. I'd be there at a wrestling show, and whoever drove, or if I drove, I'd be like, guys, I understand that you want to watch this main event, and there's probably like something that's going to happen afterwards, but this is a televised event, and we need to leave now, unless you want to leave 45 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm fine with staying, but you're not getting out.
Yeah,
Not for a while, even if you're parked near the entrance.
It did cross my mind to leave when the last song started playing, which was Stinkfist, because I'd heard them they closed last time I saw them. On that, I was kind of hoping that they closed on Schism, because I'd seen that they had basically two different
closers.
But I didn't want to make it was her first concert,
Right.
so I didn't want
That's
to.
different.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was great. We, like the last Tool concert, my back was up against the wall, but we were more to the side, so we had a really good view of everything, because it's the Coliseum. Like it was still closer,
Right. Yeah, it's a smaller venue.
Yeah. So we had a pretty good, like it was very good. They did some different things. They did some songs that before this tour haven't been done very often. They did The Grudge, which is a song that, because it's kind of hard on the vocals, doesn't get done very much. They did Rosetta Stoned, which is great, and that is also that was probably the best performance of the night. It was like all together because they had like that was when the lasers like came out. Like I was like, oh shit, and that was great because it's about an alien abduction. Well, the story is an alien abduction. The song is actually about an acid trip. But like they had like alien shit all in the background and like old 1950s like pictures of flying saucers and shit all the time. Like it was really cool. And they do like an intermission, and coming back, they did basically the same thing they did the last time, which was they opened up with a song called Chocolate Chip Trip, which is basically a drum solo by Danny Carey. But this one was added a whole lot more to it because he did a solo on a gong, like he had a literal gong there, and he did like a solo thing on that. And then he went to the drums, and when he went to the drums and did his drum solo there, they had an overhead camera shot that was projected onto the back, but it was in like kaleidoscopic view.
Wow.
Oh.
So,
Oh dear Lord.
So he went off on the drums, and then he stood up and he had like a giant synthesizer thing beside him, and he did that. So he made like a synthesizer beat, like some 9 Inch Nails shit, and then he had that beat going, and then he went back and did more drum solo, and then Justin Chancellor came out and did a bass solo, and then they went into the next song. It was
That's why the concert went after 11 o'clock. Okay, no,
like
this is good. This is good
like
things.
when I noticed that like he had done that, but they didn't do the over the head shot like with the last time I saw it. I don't remember it. It was very like I like sat forward, but yeah. Lily said she had a great time. But yeah, it's a lot, like it's Tool, so they do like a really good show. And it's kind of amazing that they came to Biloxi. I don't know how the fuck that happened. Because I didn't see them ever coming anywhere smaller than like New Orleans.
Right.
But
So this is just anecdotal. So when I was in high school, Elton John played the Coliseum, and one of the reasons why he kind of, it's like we whenever we're going into the big cities, we're passing these towns that have like venues, and we'd like to like hit a few of those up. So that might have been like, so it's like we've passed through this
it's
town.
possible. It seems like somebody has took it upon themselves, because they have had like well-known bands come very recently. I think Disturbed has a concert.
Guns N'
shortly.
Roses last year.
Guns N' Roses last year. I think somebody is on the municipal level is trying very hard to get people to come here. I don't know. We probably gave them all kinds of tax breaks and shit. I don't know. That's usually how it happens.
And I think like one time and one time only that I remember, a friend of mine went, and I didn't go because I could care less or whatever. But in the I want to say it was like either like early like 1990 maybe to 1992, around that time period, Kiss played there. And it was like in between venues. Like they were playing New Orleans and they were going to Pensacola or some shit or whatever, and that's why they played there, because it was like just, you know. And this is around the time or right before the casinos were even there. So, and that was a big deal because people lost their shit, because Kiss playing in Biloxi, what the fuck?
Like, never heard of.
Never heard of.
But it was a great. The opening band was actually pretty solid. A band called Elder. They were very progressive rock. It was better than the last one. The last one was like super weird, like industrial making. It was just like one dude making like super heavy industrial beats. And
would you call it 4-inch nails?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was similar, but not as good.
I would imagine not.
There was also no, like, it was all instrumental shit. But yeah, they were good. They weren't terrible. I had some weird ass people besides, but I mean that's
gonna
to be, I don't know, it was a couple, and the lady it was just taking a whole bunch of pictures with Lily, so I mean, that might be on somebody's Facebook. I don't fucking know. But yeah, it was a really cool thing, and the big thing was Lily said she loved it, so that was the most important
awesome.
thing. I probably wouldn't have gone. I probably wouldn't have spent the money because it was fucking expensive tickets.
I can imagine.
I think
But-
you told me somewhere around 400.
For the total, yes,
Yeah.
after everything was said
God
and done.
bless.
That sounds like what my dad spent on.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a really, really great concert. I am glad that I went. But they're always like really, really good. The other time that I saw them, and from what I've heard from it, I haven't heard anybody who's ever been to a Tool concert and said that they did a bad show.
Right.
So,
That's always one of the great disappointments when you have a band that you really like that is good in the studio, but then they're out in the
But
public.
you get the live experience, and
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, they dial it in. Like, I don't think, like, Rob Zombie, too, that's one who doesn't dial it in. Like, his shows are, like, fucking over the top. And
yeah,
ridiculous.
like it sounds exactly like, they add more shit to it, but like they do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
A friend of
the
mine
lighting is always great.
friend of mine from work's a big Rihanna fan, and she did the Super Bowl halftime last year.
Yeah.
And he was thoroughly disappointed. And I get she literally that night also announced that she was having her second kid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going there, but
Right.
like just from a fan perspective, like you're expecting all of this and don't get that. So I'm grateful that you had a really good time on that one, man.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
Jody.
So I watched two very depressing movies Monday and Tuesday. I watched a movie we had talked about, but I had never watched it in its full because the nature of it, and that's the animated full feature film, When the Wind Blows, which is a UK animated film about a elderly couple, and they're having their day-to-day conversations.
I remember this.
They're having their day-to-day conversation, and the radio goes on and talks about how there's a possible war with Russia, between Russia and the United States, and there might be, since the UK's
There might be
allied,
crossfire.
there might be a bomb or whatever, and the husband's like, "Oh dear, don't worry about it. Like, I've got this pamphlet, it tells us what to do." And at the time, from like the early 70s all the way through like when the wall fell in the early to mid 90s, there was always like, and it's ridiculous, propaganda on how to protect yourself if there was a nuclear war. And so he takes all the doors off inside the house, and they make like a little shelter inside the house for the blast. And it actually kind of works because the house is not close to the ground zero. They're having a conversations. He's like, "We can't go outside right now. We have to wait at least 2 weeks." And then he decides, "Oh, actually, I think it's 2 days." No, it's probably 2 weeks, because of fallout and things of that nature. And they go outside, and they pull out some chairs, and they look up at the sky, and they're like, "Oh, sky's pretty dark." They had no clue what's going on. Walk around, it's like, "Oh, the garden's kind of gray." I would think so. And so, you watch the next hour, 10 minutes of them slowly getting sick from drinking irradiated water and, eating what's left of their food. It's sort of like Grave of the Fireflies, but for old people. And so it's depressing, but it's not as depressing as Threads, which is a 1980.
I've been meaning to watch this one.
I won't spoil it for you, but my God. So Threads is the same kind of movie. Like, it's live action though, and it was made in '84 by the BBC, which at the time they were very trying to be very progressive. And so this is an anti-war movie, basically, like what happens. And they really tell a good story of, that there's a lot of political turmoil that's happening before the bomb drops. Like, the UK at the time also was going through a lot of government problems with strikes and unions and things of that nature, because the government over there was fucked for a while. You follow, like, for about 48 minutes, You follow like a couple of different families, like, you know, dealing with just the day-to-day stuff of what's going on. And then there's like the bomb scare, and it's like, okay, there might be a bomb, so we need to start like buying food, and there's rushes for food, and then grocery store clerks are like overcharging for food, which at the time price gouging was definitely a thing up until recently, and it still can be depending on where you're at. And so you follow these families, and then of course, then the bomb drops, and ooh, it is probably one of the most saddest and depressing movies I've ever watched. And I don't want to go into any details of anything that happens, even though, I mean, obviously you know what happens to a degree, but you see just the slow unraveling nature of what happens when there is a bomb of this nature going off, where it eventually it's just like reading Mouse as far as like the social aspects of how all the structures fall apart, and how like your neighbor is not really someone you can trust anymore, and you know, can we eat this? I don't know if we should be eating this, because you know you have the added radiation to it as well, on top of everything else. And so, and it's just like, it's really dark, because in a nuclear war, no one wins.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hope you like good old diseases like the plague and cholera, because they're coming back, because there's no plumbing, no electricity, and you're basically taken back to the Middle Ages. So, yeah. That's what I've been doing, guys.
Jesus. Okay.
Glad it wasn't the last one we presented. Good Lord.
Yeah,
Should have been the first one. Might have picked it up a little bit.
On my end,
Come on, man. You got to bring this up.
Yeah.
Pokemon with guns.
Oh, okay. That's a little better.
I feel that's a little worse.
No, I'm still playing Palworld. I've discovered the power of the breeding pen.
Jesus, that's terrible.
I didn't know you were
out of context.
I didn't know you were a furry.
No,
That should go on the soundboard.
Jay, make a note.
I have discovered the
wait a
power.
minute. By the way,
It can't offend anybody. He's dead.
I just wanted to bring that one up for you. There you go.
God, I don't like that because I hear my own voice. But I've discovered the power of that should be our first shirt. I've discovered the power of the breeding
the
pen.
breeding pen.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I found a guide for
The breeding pit.
for the breeding pit, and I'm able to hatch like end game Pokemon pals.
You mean pals?
Pals?
Yeah.
Don't get them sued.
They're pals. Pals.
Oh, they're well on the way to do that.
They don't want to.
doing
They don't want to
that.
give Nintendo like any of that money that they've made so far, because they've sold over 50 million copies of that game.
I feel like Nintendo
Yeah.
is just waiting for them to get to a certain amount, and then they're going to be like, "Okay, we will take this now."
That
game is like $40, right?
It's 30 right now.
It's 40, but again, there was a sale on Steam that pushed it under like 28.
Yeah.
When it first came out, which I think was, again, I thought that was a genius idea.
$30 times 50 million is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a video I saw on like here's a tier list on whether or not Nintendo can sue Palworld for the likeness of their images.
Yeah.
But I'm able to
Shit, that video probably got copyright struck.
Yeah.
from Nintendo.
There is no fair use in Japan.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Copyright is almost inviolate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm able to breed late game pals with like the
Why
common.
does this sound creepy?
Because it does.
Because it is. Because
I'm able
when
to
you
breed late game
when you
pals.
sit there and you think about how Pokemon actually works, it's really, really creepy. And
abusive towards
Palworld
animals.
is basically letting us is showing us how to do that, because it doesn't even like mince words. Like they don't call it anything cute.
Like
It's the breeding pit, for God's sake.
It's not a daycare.
Like legitimately, hang on. I'm gonna hand you my microphone. Move yours to the side for a little bit.
Okay.
I feel like while you're describing this, we need to set it up this way. So hang on.
Oh my God.
What?
The breeding pits.
Yeah.
I'm able to breed them.
You can just let me know when you change it back, and then I will put my headphones back on until then.
Got it.
Until,
I'm able to breed
Yeah, I don't like that.
The
at all.
throaty part of
Yeah,
that
I really
is
don't
not
like that at all.
the maniacal.
Obtain.
This is like reverse ASMR. This is like
The beginning of the game is super easy.
This is what AIDS would sound like if it was an audio.
we're gonna lose most of our listeners and gain all the listeners that we don't want from this.
Do you want a reason for me not to listen to episodes? This is one of them.
We have balance has been restored.
Yeah, still playing Palworld. The last thing I will end this on is me and Bianca. We watched the season finale of the Percy Jackson show, which I'm not disappointed with it.
That's good.
I was looking forward to like the Ares and Percy fights. Ares played by Adam Copeland, Edge. I think he did really amazing.
The one episode that I saw him in, he was very good. He had a lot of good chemistry with the satyr kid.
Yeah, he had a long stint on a TV show
Haven.
back. Yeah,
Haven,
yeah. I think he did.
He
a
was also
phenomenal
on
job.
Money Plane.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
I don't know what that is.
Dude,
You can bet on anything on Money Plane.
side,
You want to bet on a dude
Wanna
fucking
bet on
alligator?
dude fucking alligator?
Money Plane.
That was said by Kelsey Grammer.
Frasier. Frasier said that.
Side note, there's like a handful of those movies, and every once in a while, because I never watched any of them, I go back to like, finding them somewhere, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try and watch Pootie Tang. And I got
man. There was like one good joke in
I
Pootie
got
Tang, and I
10
can't even.
minutes. I got 10 minutes into it, and I was like, nope, I can't.
I can't even remember the good joke. That's how long it's been since
It's
I've
pretty
watched
bad
Pootie
when
Tang.
the ICP movie Big Money Hustlers is better than that.
I refuse to believe that. But I will never
challenge
I will never
that.
challenge that actually because I am never watching.
We're gonna
that.
postpone Amber again to review Big Money Hustlers.
You can count me. That would be a 3-person job there.
I think
I only have so much
Mick
time on this
Foley
earth.
is in the movie as Cactus Sack, and
Yeah.
I believe Terry
Christ.
Funk is his Uncle Prickly Balls.
Was it the second one where they were in the Old West, or is that
Oh,
the
I didn't go past one.
There's like
What?
3. There's like 3 of those.
Of course, there's 3 of them. One is enough. I feel like they needed a megaphone to really just
It's like
hit
there's-
that home.
We're Western Juggalos,
There's
yo.
4 blood rains.
Yeah.
I feel like I know what our next few episodes.
There's like
are.
a cowboy blood rain.
Yeah, the third one is takes place.
The
in the
second
Old
one was
West.
actually okay for a Blood Rain movie.
Uwe Boll made a movie
I'm gonna-
about Auschwitz,
I'm sure he did.
It's called Uwe Boll's
starring
Auschwitz.
Uwe Boll.
Yeah.
The Percy Jackson show was actually pretty good.
Man, hold on.
You didn't want to talk about House of the Dead? All right.
No.
That movie gave me a headache in theaters.
It did. Yeah, me too.
We all talked about what we've been doing this past
That
week.
should have been the first movie I ever walked out of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another thing. I think Has Been Hotel is growing on me.
Oh, cool.
I watched the next 2 episodes.
I have seen nothing but clips of Has Been Hotel on my TikTok.
Like the 5th episode, they actually introduced Lucifer, and he's actually a fun character.
Oh, okay.
And then they go to heaven in the next one, and that was a pretty good episode.
I think I'm
So
gonna have to watch that.
It might.
This weekend.
I think it might actually. I'm probably going to end up watching the entire series.
Cool.
Especially since there's probably only 8 episodes, so it's probably this week the last
Right.
2 episodes. are gonna
Right.
come out.
Oh, that's good.
From everything I've been seeing, it's making me want to get an Amazon.
It looks
Prime account.
it looks good. It looks good. And
Worth the
it's-
wait.
I have
People have been waiting for like 4 fucking years for that show.
yeah. I need to go back and watch the pilot that y'all were talking about. I just haven't.
I think the same. Did they just re-air the same pilot on Amazon, or is it
No,
different?
I don't know.
There's a little bit of difference
Oh,
because
okay,
I've watched some
okay.
people because some people online are throwing a fit because it's
Not exactly.
It's got Satan stuff in it, so they have just the dumbest fucking takes.
You should
So I've
definitely
watched-
check out Hell of a Boss, though.
Hell of a Boss.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about that. I just
Yeah.
haven't watched it.
We all talked about what we've been doing. Jay, have you gotten any feedback?
No feedback this week. However, passengers, thank you for showing up for the ride tonight. And if you would like to give us feedback, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, where else can they get in touch with us?
Now you can message us directly on Spotify and take part in any polls we may or may not have currently.
And if you'd like to share this with friends who listen on other different podcasting channels, okay, that'll work. It's Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon.
Saga.
YouTube podcasting.
In the summer.
Yeah.
Say
And
Like,
next year.
I'm getting like emails every 2 weeks that says Google Podcasts is going away. It's like, oh God.
It's like breaking news.
After April 2nd,
April 2nd?
you will no longer be able to listen
Okay.
to podcasts.
So
and then,
mid-spring, excuse me, my bad.
Mid-spring, yes.
My bad.
and then like
Although with the temperatures down here, it's summer,
Yeah. Or it could still be winter.
It'll be freezing till May.
or could be freezing on April the 1st because that's God's.
no, it's going to
practical
be
joke.
like 90 on April the 1st.
It has snowed during spring break before down here.
It's supposed
I know my first snow that I remember was in April.
I'm hoping Brady has researched this using an almanac. That'd be amazing.
No,
to
I
me.
just have very vivid memories of my first snow as a kid.
No, I'm talking about you predicting that it'd be 90 and it's actually 90.
No,
because
I'm
you
just
have like
the
an
way
almanac in your hand.
the way the climate is.
I'll never forget the day it snowed here like that, like a blizzard. It was during the time when I got to see the piece of shit movie Fire in the Sky, 1992. That movie fucking sucks. Just saying.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You're
Jody.
welcome.
There we go.
Thank you for sharing.
I don't think I've ever heard that take from that movie.
Can't stand it. Saw it in the theater.
During a blizzard.
The best part was when the kids kept coming inside and going, "It's snowing outside." Oh, is it? Let me go check.
Have you considered that might have been the reason it
Isn't
ruined
that
it
the
for
one
you?
with what's his name? Fuck.
Fire in
Tim
the sky.
Robbins?
No,
thinking
that's
of
Jacob's Ladder.
No.
Right, or-
Jacob's Ladder. Yeah,
I'm pretty. I'm not sure. I don't think so, but you could
I
be
think
right.
he was the one who was.
You can check that.
Travis Walton.
It's the movie about the alien abduction that happened in Pascagoula.
Yeah.
Am I thinking? Am I getting that mixed up with
I
another?
think-
alien?
I think you
Because there's
are.
an alien. Tim Robbins is abducted in an alien movie, and the flashback. Because for the longest in the movie, this is riveting podcasting.
It is.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's fucking with my head is I may have seen that movie, but the imagery would have been so much like Jacob's Ladder that I just folded it into Jacob's Ladder.
I think it came out about the same time.
93, I believe. That's what I saw.
Might have been 93. As
No, Robert Patrick's in that movie.
What I'm seeing is
T-1000 Robert Patrick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert Patrick, Peter Berg, James Garner.
What am I thinking of?
Fire that's Fire in the Sky, right?
Yeah,
I
yes,
remember.
Fire in the
I
Sky.
vaguely remember James.
I
Garner
remember.
doing that.
So I am. Yeah, I'm remembering the like poster correctly. This is going to bother me.
While we're researching this, right now is the transition to our main topic. Tonight we're going to be talking about the hobby of collecting board games, video games, just collectibles. What got us into collecting as a hobby? Things that were. Many people have different reasons for collecting. Some people they're interested in what they're collecting. Some look at it as like an investment and things. Many people have their own reasons for collecting, and so what are some things that y'all like collecting, or are y'all interested in collecting?
I will say, like most of my hobbies, that at least collecting is part of it. Like I play board games, but I also basically collect board games because there are some board games that I've only played once or twice that I have that I don't want to get rid of. There's some board games that I want to get rid of, and there's a pile on my floor. If you're interested, hit me up. But I'm actually right. I collect so much shit that like I am running out of room right now, and it's becoming a problem. So yeah, I like to collect most of my stuff. I will use it, but I also just like to have it and it be there. So that is, be it board games, books, comic books, action figures, miniatures, Blu-rays, DVDs, Video games, shit. Like most of the shit that I have, it's part of say some collection because I don't necessarily get around to using every part of it, so to speak. So
one of the things that I was kind of like questioning whenever we said that we're going to be talking about this is there are people that there are people that enjoy playing video games. There are people that enjoy playing board games. At what point does it turn from having an interest in a thing before it turns into a hobby of collecting it?
You go from like loving Japanese role playing games to trying to have all the ones that are on the Switch. That's one. That's one.
For me, I believe board game collecting starts at your 10th board game.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if you have one or two, it's like, oh, friends come over, we can play this. Okay, that's something we can do.
Yeah.
When you're investing, especially nowadays,
Right.
I would even say lower that number, the higher the price on those games go up.
Right.
Like just recently, Cyberpunk Gangs of Night City just finished distributing out, at least here in the United States. I went in on that. That was $300.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was one main and 6 separate boxes for expansions and Kickstarter only exclusives. Yeah. I think when you start going down that road, I think that's when you start getting into actual proper collection, at least in the board games.
Right, because the entry level for board games on average. Now you have the smaller like casual games, but like for a like quote unquote premium board game that's like retail is around $50. Like that's your entry point for like the.
it used to be around $50. Now it's closer to like 70.
Right, it's around the low entry point for your now more established board games. Like Azul was a little bit cheaper. Azul's like $40.
Azul is going to be like,
But like your quintessential games like Ticket to Ride and Wingspan, those games are around $50 to $60, and then you get into what Jay's talking about, which is like maybe you just want to kickstart like one game every year, every other year.
That's also like a Kickstarter thing, like,
right?
Where they add in all of this content.
Yeah.
To me, that's really, unless you only get one,
right?
Like this is a cool, like, and you get it off of what it like the theme of it. Like once you start going down that route, you're a board game collector,
right?
Yeah,
right.
For me, I think the drawing the line is with anything. Is it do I play video games or am I just a video game collector? It's play to amount owned ratio and how much time you actually put into actually using the material. That's why I said most of my stuff is more of a like most of my board games I don't play as much as I would like, to be honest, but it doesn't stop me from buying more, although I've tried to slow down. But like there are board games that I have that I've only maybe played once, and I for various reasons, but I still have them, and I don't feel like I want to get rid of them. So
yeah, and for video games, for me, it's kind of weird. Like I for a long time collected video games until the market got ridiculous on retro and even like not too retro video games. But like recently, I was at a game exchange in Mobile like Sunday, and got a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PlayStation 2 for $10. And actually played it for about an hour or so and got my fill out of it. But
I think I've been to that one.
Yeah, that's a really good one. They have a better selection than the one that is in D'Iberville.
Yeah, well, the one in D'Iberville is also still selling like Lorcana packs for like $20 a piece.
Oh, nice. But yeah, like video games, I collected them for a while, and a lot of it just stemmed from affordability for one. Because before the boom happened from like YouTubers like ABGN and a couple other ones, Game Chasers and the like, you could get loose cart Nintendo games for like $1 to $5. Like common or uncommon titles doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now even common titles like Contra are like $20 to $30.
Yeah.
Just because the way the market is, and
the
a
lot of those like I've had this itch especially last year of like trying to get some of these like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era like Japanese RPGs.
Right.
And most of them are like at a premium price, and I kicked myself because used to. And I'm gonna sound with a lot of this stuff. I'm gonna sound like an old man because one of my reasons for collecting things is that I like owning physical media. I buy Blu-rays because I want to, whenever I feel like it, take this down and watch this movie. Even if there's a lot of movies that I have that I haven't even gotten around to watching, but I have it there so I know when I want to, I can take it down.
It's available.
It's there. Yeah.
But back in the day, at like a GameStop or something, they would have a big little display area, like usually kind of at the front of the store with all of these PlayStation 1 games. And if you wanted to get and it's not as bad, some of these aren't as bad anymore, but like a Final Fantasy 7, you get $20 used.
Right.
You wanted to get Xenogears, $20 used. You want to get Vagrant Story or any
Jade
of the
Cocoon,
any of the Persona games,
right?
Persona 2,
right?
Either one of I found both of those in the thing, and those are like you're gonna pay several $100s
right
nowadays.
Yeah,
and I kick myself for not buying all of them.
More of them. Yeah,
it's very frustrating.
I had that issue too with video games, especially like if you want to really blow your mind, you look at like an old advert for there used to be a place called, not around here, but in bigger cities, called Funko Land. I think they might have had one in Mobile, but I don't remember. But Funko Land, you look at like an old advert for Funko Land, and it'd be like they would give you a buying and selling price for something. So it'd be like they would give you like $5 for Contra and sell it for $7 or $8. They didn't have the high margins that GameStop has.
Yeah.
Like it was like they only made a few dollars off of their things. Right? Used Nintendo systems for like $25 and things like this. Is like the late 90s, early 2000s until they went out of business because GameStop.
Yeah,
but. Another crazy thing is like the retro gaming, just as a side note, the retro gaming as a collectible thing, the bubble was actually popping.
Yeah.
Like the threshold had been gotten to a point where people were like, these games were getting to an astronomical level as far as price goes. And they were dropping crazy. Like there's a Flintstones game that was like a Blockbuster exclusive called like Peak something Peak or whatever. And it was like pushing like $500-$600 or whatever. And it had dropped to like $200. And then COVID happened. And what happened when COVID happened, all the current systems got bought out by everyday people and bots. And once all of the current things were not available anymore, then people started going back and going, oh, you know what? These retro systems are kind of cheaper now. And they started buying out Nintendos and Super Nintendos just to have something to play at home, which drove the price right back up for retro systems. And you know what's crazy is that these new retro emulator systems you can buy that can play like, let's just say, regular Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, they're almost as expensive as buying a retro system if you can find one. Like I'm not spending like $150-$200 on a new retro emulator to play carts that are right now astronomical.
Yeah.
And that's where my collecting stops is when I get priced out of it. I kind of like, that's the only reason why I picked up that Star Wars game is because it was $10.
Yeah, I go to these places. I haven't been in a little while. I guess I've kind of cooled on it a little bit, but like quite a few times during last year, I would go to like to the game exchanges and stuff like that to try and find out. And I'm sorry, it's not Game Exchange. It's the whatever the place in Gulfport.
Is it a Play and Talk?
Play and Talk, where they're selling Lorcana packs still for ridiculous prices. I don't want to slander Game Exchange any more than I would normally. But yeah, they I do like that the Game Exchange has like at least here has like Blu-rays and stuff like that. So it's
and in fact,
most of those aren't like obscenely priced. Some of them are ridiculous. Like I'm not paying new prices for used.
Right.
Shit.
What's crazy is the one in Mobile has regular DVDs and Blu-rays. The one in D'Iberville only now has Blu-rays.
Yeah.
They don't have any regular DVDs in there at all.
Which I mean to me is fine.
I understand,
because that's mostly what I want. I would like to replace everything that I could get with a Blu-ray, but
I'm with you on that because I'm also an avid movie collector. It's just like some movies are not available on Blu-ray.
That is true. That is true.
And like it just for instance, if you want to get Kung Pao Legend of the Fist, you might have to get it on regular DVD because of the time period the movie came out.
Yeah.
Like if it's not a super old movie and it's a movie that happened about the same time that DVD happened originally, it might not have a Blu-ray release.
Yeah, if it wasn't a month, and it's all, I don't know. That's all profit motive. So like, if they didn't feel like they could make a profit with the Blu-ray, they didn't put it on Blu-ray and shit like that.
My issue with some pieces of that is there are they're DVDs of some movies that have additional features, and some Blu-rays come out and it's just the movie.
Right. Yeah.
And that to me is insane because you have all of that space. You should be able to fill it with and for some of it, it's the same movie.
Well, yeah.
And you have less features.
And that was the selling point of Blu-ray. When Blu-ray came out, when they advertised Blu-ray on regular DVDs, especially Sony ones, they advertised like, the new Mission Impossible movie is going to be on Blu-ray, and it's going to have like 3 hours of extra features and behind-the-scenes commentary by Tom Cruise and all the other people.
That's the reason why I only have Texas Chainsaw Massacre on DVD, because I got a special edition that has a whole bunch of special features.
Right.
Even though I haven't watched any of the special features, and I might not ever have time to go back and watch those special features, I still have them. A lot of this is going to sound like hoarding, and I will admit that yes, I am a bit of a hoarder when it comes to shit like that. But like I can't find a Blu-ray that has anything more than the movie. Now I could get a 4K, but I don't want to. 4K players are kind of expensive. I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay $100. I don't want to pay $100 for a 4K Blu-ray player. I would get if I could find one for like $50-$60. I would get a 4K Blu-ray player. But every one that I look at, it's like at least $100.
And I don't even see a ton of physical support for that format.
Well, I actually do see a lot. Although the one place that you used to could really find it was in Best Buy, but they don't sell physical media at least when it comes to movies anymore. So there's that. But and it seems like most like Walmart, their physical media section is at least when it comes to movies and TV shows is less. Target, especially around here, is like almost they're down to almost nothing.
Right.
Like by the end of the year, I don't think Target's going to have physical Blu-rays or DVDs or anything like that.
Right. They'll have a handful of records though, which is also wild.
Yeah. The records have actually come back, and I'm hoping that helps. I've read some stuff where people are talking about that something similar that happened with vinyl records is going to happen with Blu-ray. Because now the problem is like and the reason I especially when it comes to like movies and TV shows and shit like that, I really want to collect them and have them for myself is because in the streaming age, somebody can just say, okay, this was on here, but now it's not.
Right.
So you just don't have access to this ever. Because we just decided. And that has happened with several things lately. Mostly through Warner Brothers, because David Zaslav is a piece of shit. But yeah, like they'll just decide, okay, this Netflix show that was produced by Netflix and is only ever on Netflix and can only ever be on Netflix, and we didn't release the TV series on physical media. We're just deciding it's cheaper for us to just not have it on there anymore.
So you don't have to pay the actors for residuals anymore.
So we don't have to pay residuals anymore. There's been several cartoon shows that just disappeared from
video
Max.
Games. In fact, I want to piggyback off that before we jump to something else. The reason why I got a physical copy of Scott Pilgrim versus the World of Beat 'em Up through Limited Run, which is a fantastic company that makes retro and newer console video games, especially ones that are digital only for the newer ones. the game got pulled off of Xbox Live.
Yeah.
A couple years before that system died out. Because the music they ran out of the music licensing that they had on that game, and so when there was a physical copy of it, whether I really wanted the game or not, I just thought the game was cool. I went ahead and got it because of that reason.
That's with video games especially. That's why I got that. Was it Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, and Mario 64?
Yeah,
I've got that. I've got that.
Anniversary.
I got
was
that
like,
too.
yeah, I'm gonna get this because I don't know how easy it will be to get some of these games. Like I could pay however much Super Mario Sunshine is to play on my Wii,
Right.
The GameCube copy on my Wii,
Right.
or I could get this, and this is a physical copy, and as long as I have a Switch, I can play this.
That has all three.
On
one cartridge.
That's like I try to be like progressive in a lot of my ways of thinking. But when it comes to like physical media and stuff like that, I am totally old man yelling at cloud, and I realize a lot of this is going to come off as that. But yeah, that's just how I am. Yeah.
Well, it's not that it's not that it's like I'm trying to figure out like the correct wording on this is. There's a lot of things when it comes to collectibles that's not only like, hey, this is a hobby that I'm interested in. This is things that I want for myself. There are also the collectors that look at it as an investment, and so
Yeah.
There's also the factor like there's books too, like RPGs. Like so, I wanted to get Ryutama when it came out, but it sold out and it wasn't available to be. They didn't reprint it for 2 years because they didn't know it was going to sell out. And when they reprinted it, I bought it like the physical copy through Drive-Thru RPG or whatever the company was that I got it through because. Once it goes this time, that might be it.
Yeah.
It might not be available anymore.
so
Yeah.
Books also go out of print. That's the problem.
There's a market like for like, and this is not like just novels and shit like that. I was in before Christmas on the way to see some family. I stopped by to see my daughter. And she lives in Mandeville, which is right next to Covington, and there's a really cool place in Covington called Second and Charles. It's new and used, basically everything, like books, comic books, board games, video games, vinyl, DVDs and Blu-ray. They even had like I know when I was looking around with her, like they even had a little section of like rare books, like just like novels and shit like that, like first editions.
First editions,
and there are people who collect that shit. Funny with me, like I've never like collected anything as like a true profit motive. Like I've never once like collected something and been like, well, this might be worth something later.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I saw you.
okay.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
So my older brother, when he was still down here, he was still in college. He loved taking care of things. Ever since he was growing up, he still had his original GameCube, PS1, Super Nintendo, and what he did when he got a good paying job, he would always go on eBay and he would look up the games that he enjoyed playing, and he would get 2 copies. One as a like used copy for him to play it for himself, and a sealed copy. And he
as an investment.
Yeah, and so he would get both of them, and he would send the sealed copies to get graded because he wanted something for himself and something to hold on to in case oh shit I need some quick cash.
Yeah.
When he was moving. He moved over to he moved up to Washington a couple years ago, and he sold all of his graded sealed copies of video games like GameCube, PS1, PS2. I think he had a couple of 64 copies, and he used all of that to fund his moving.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
And he's still able to like hold on to his used copies for him to play on. His
I mean,
own.
like I said, I don't. don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I just like, for me, I have never want, like, even if I got something that was graded or got something of mine graded, like say a comic book of mine, I would never like it would just, oh, that's cool to have a graded comic on my wall.
Right.
For some reason, like, it's just never been, it's just like, it's kind of a hoarder mentality, to be honest.
Right.
Like, a lot of this is going to sound like this because it's just like, okay, I just want to own this. I want to have this on my wall, or I want to have this in my, you know, in my little bookshelf, so I can look at it and say, okay, there's that. And if it's, you know, a comic book or something, I'll take it down and read it.
There's
stuff
also
like
a
that.
venture capitalist mentality on this too. Like if we're talking about
Yeah.
collecting for money,
I mean,
and
yeah,
that's
of course.
that's where, of all people, I think Pat Contry and Carl Jobst have really just kind of skewered this notion, particularly about like sealed video game collecting. The notion that a Super Mario 64 sold for millions of dollars because it was sealed, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, that's a 9.5," or whatever the grading process was.
Yeah.
That has since come down because you have, I guess, just like in the stock market and anything else where there's money to be had in intrinsic value and creating intrinsic value and maybe even faking intrinsic value. I'm not going to say anyone in particular because that borders on the line of, can we actually prove that? But there's a portion of that to me gets in the way of what I feel true collecting should be. It's something that you enjoy. It's something that you want to be able to possess, to be able to use, or to be able to at least display and say, I have this. And it's like, this is this was something that meant something to me at some point in time, and things adjacent to it.
I think there is like I think that there's a very clear distinction between someone like Ethan's brother, who was getting it.
Oh,
like,
absolutely,
maybe this
yes.
will be an investment one day. Versus there are people who, like, when Lorcana first came out with these first two sets, there were people, you know, buying shitloads of it. Scalpers, you know, buying it in huge amounts.
Buying in bulk and then redistributing
Yeah,
it
and
at
because
much
of,
higher.
and because
yeah.
of the laws
Yeah.
of supply and demand, it drove the price of everything super high.
There was a prelude to that when Star Wars Destiny, which was a Fantasy Flight game that involved, it was a card and dice game, and when you bought the pack of cards, you also had a dice that came with it for something that you would play on the field, and that first printing immediately just disappeared.
Right.
And prices on getting those cards individually were astronomical.
Yeah.
Like I think you'd mentioned what Enchanted Elsa was like 200, or maybe even creeped up higher than that.
No, Elsa was like upwards of like $800, and she's
$800.
still at like 600.
Okay.
Prices with the first set, because it's fucking economics, which I hate. The rumor is that like the first set isn't getting reprinted anytime soon because they've printed the shit out of it lately. So like prices on that shit is going back up.
Enchanted Elsa is currently going for 605.
I was about to say it was right at 6.
And that's going to
6
happen.
last
I mean,
time.
that's what happened. Like if you go all the way back to Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and Revised, like that is going to happen because you'll still, those cards I assume are still playable, at least in formats recognized by Ravensburger. And if they still have that utility, there's a price there. And then there's also, this was the first set.
Yeah.
And this is a special portion of that first set. I can absolutely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's frustrating because again, it's economics, and I think when it comes to like the scalpers and the bots and everything, it really can fuck with
It's why
trying to collect things.
It's why I preferred the LCG model. And
Yeah.
I to
Oh,
a
yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
extent,
I
I still
do.
do, because I despise the chase.
Yeah.
I just want to play the game, and if I can buy a pack of cards that allows me to build the same thing that everybody who bought that same named
Right.
pack
And
of
I'll be
cards,
honest, like
Priced out of the hobby.
with Lorcana, I haven't really gotten that same, you know, high that I used to. I think the last thing that I did that really got me that was when Dice Masters was around. that kind of chase of opening up packs and seeing what you get and everything like that. But it's just like I'll open a pack and oh, that's cool, I got this thing. Oh, that's great.
Right.
This is a cool card, but like it's not really as exciting as it used to be. But with that, it's more enjoying playing the game than the just collecting of the cards.
And you can get, and just real quick, just because you mentioned pricing out, Jody, you can get priced out of an LCG because, hey, this is a really fun game. Well, it's 3 cycles in, so you need this many copies of the core set, and you need
it took me
this,
forever,
and you need this run.
and so much money to get into fully into Netrunner when I got into it.
If you're there at the ground floor, you don't notice it.
Right.
But even I would say you won't notice it while you're in it. But then you're done, and then you look back and like, oh, damn. Like, that
but
was
when
a lot.
I mean pricing out, let me give you a current example. So me and Ethan play Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
And we
Magic the Gathering?
Magic the Gathering. It's a
Gathering
game.
Magic.
You know, it's funny. It's a game by Richard Garfield. He made another game. What was
King
that?
of Tokyo.
Yeah, that's it. King of Tokyo.
yeah.
Bunny Kingdom.
Yeah. Bunny
board
Kingdom.
games, yes.
Yeah,
Robo Rally.
Robo Rally.
What was that?
There was a card game though. Android Netrunner.
It's called Netrunner.
Yeah, Android Netrunner, whatever you want to call it.
Well, when he made it, it was called Netrunner.
It was just
and they
Netrunner.
made it
Right.
Android
because it was
Netrunner.
based off of Cyberpunk from our Telsorian game.
So there's a card. It came out. I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, maybe like three sets ago, or maybe 4 sets ago. There's a set every month now, not for standard, but whatever. If you don't know what that means, it's fine. But it's currently a standard card and will remain in standard for the next 2 years because Wizards has now initiated a 3-year rotation, which is good for some things and bad for others. For example, this one card sees play in standard, which is not a very thriving format, by the way, right now. But it also
Physically.
But it also sees play in Modern, which is another format of the game, and it also sees play in Commander, which is another format of the game, and even Legacy.
Yeah.
And that card is Shieldred. And
Shieldred the Apocalypse.
Shieldred the Apocalypse. Even
Damning little bastard.
even though you might not know much about Magic, I can tell you this. Imagine in Lorcana, there was a character that your opponent had that said, whenever you draw a card, you lose 2 life and they gain 2 life. And imagine in that same game, there was a wheel effect that made you both discard your hands and draw 7 cards. But instead of losing life in Lorcana, you lose 2 lore and he gains 2 lore.
Yeah.
So that's what this card does, and it's $80 currently for this one card, which is one of the highest priced standard cards since Jace the Mind Sculptor back in the in original Zendikar block, which was like 10 fucking years ago.
I want to say Shieldred came out August.
6 months,
Yeah.
give or
Like-
take a
like-
month.
The fact that it was released like half a year ago,
Uh-huh.
and it's still prevalent in the majority of all
the formats.
metas,
Right.
amongst all formats,
Right.
Like it's
Here's the thing. She only sees play in sideboards in Modern, but that's how you win in Magic the Gathering. You win on you win on game 2 and 3 from your sideboard because you have to have 4 copies in those formats, which is another reason why the price of the card has skyrocketed over the past few months. I didn't want to pick one up when they were $40. Still not picking one up, not for a while.
another
They might
bastard.
reprint her again before standard rotates. We'll see what happens.
Another little thing that came out of the Lord of the Rings sets, Orcish Bowmasters.
Orcish Bowmaster.
Imagine, if you will, like Shieldred,
Mm-hmm.
when you draw a card, hey, I'm going to deal you a damage, and I'm going to make a dude.
Yeah,
That's-
make a token. Which would be, well, Orcish Bowmaster says 1 damage to any target. So imagine like it didn't do anything to you at all. It just anytime that you drew a card, it did a damage to one of your characters.
Yes.
every time.
And it's not like Shieldred where you have to play it on your turn. Like you play Bowmasters in response to his wheel.
Right. It's
And
got
catch
flash,
him, and
right?
catch him off guard. Yeah,
Yeah, it can be played at any time.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about collecting the game and not bitching about the prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be
well, I
another-
mean,
we
got on a tangent.
That is part to do. That is part way to do
that
it.
is I won't even say that's a tangent to
Right.
the
That's
issue. I
true.
think it is a full
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
the issue because collecting is expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to have any kind of like at least considerable collection, I
Yeah.
have easily spent per year the last 10 years spent $1,000 on board games every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I look at that collection and I don't regret it.
Right.
I don't regret it, but
Right.
it is sobering to look at that. It's like, yeah, $10,000.
I used to
try not to think about.
I
it.
used to spend. Okay, well now I spend like maybe like around $200 a year on Magic. But
I
at
cannot
one,
say the same.
well, I used to be where you are, where I spent more than $1,000 a year in Magic because when I used to play at a and I love McNarbs, don't get me wrong, but they do not run anywhere the amount of events. They sometimes Magic they barely run any events just because of just the way it is. And it has nothing to do with the shop or anything, but it has to do with the area and a bunch of other shit, I'm sure. But back in the day, there used to be a place I went to where we drafted on Thursdays. We played Friday Night Magic on Fridays, and on pre-release weekends, we played Saturday morning. This is before they just started doing the midnight and then went back to doing it on Friday evenings. Pre-releases, Saturday morning, and then same day on that Saturday, drafting as many times as you wanted because they had all the product for it. Sunday, pre-release again. That was every 4 months where you had a pre-release. But every week we would draft, and sometimes we would draft more than once in a night.
Yeah.
That's $15 a draft, and that's driving up wherever you had to drive up to. You know, that's not counting spending money on singles and paying for entry fees or anything like that. That's just spending money on those things, and then
Then you have incidentals like you mentioned getting up there, so gas, but also snack food, dinner if you're going to get dinner, things like that. Yeah.
I probably spent somewhere around like probably $1,000 a year in gas, something like that, because it was like multiple times a week because I didn't have anything else going on in my life, and that was my only hobby. And so, that it got expensive. And then eventually one day I decided to slow down and, I still enjoy playing the game. I play mostly Commander because there's no real grind and having to stay up on what's in rotation and all that stuff. And I get to play with my friends and have fun time playing the game. Still collect cards here and there. And every once in a while when there's a sealed deck that comes out for Commander, I might buy it. I might not, depending on what's going on. But I decided that, all of us only have so much income. So sometimes what I do is I'll just shift my hobby around. So if I'm not buying a lot of Magic, then it's like I can buy a video game here, I can buy a book there, go to the movies here, do this there, and slow down the collecting.
I was unfortunately introduced to competitive Magic, like playing in modern, competitive Commander, things like that.
Right. I used to be where you are now.
Yeah, and so
Look at your future.
Don't look at your future.
okay, so
You sound like you're his fucking sponsor. Jesus.
no, like I very much enjoy.
What step are you on, Ethan?
He hadn't even gotten up to the staircase yet. He's still in the basement with the modern nerds.
I was introduced that like play level of like interactions with cards, and so I wanted to jump right into it. And so
Right.
I started making modern decks, jumping from one deck to another, and, which eventually went from me playing a budget like artifacts deck into hey, let me play one of the top 3 decks there is,
Right.
and then also jumping into competitive Commander, which hey, let me pay the same price for this uber competitive modern deck and let me double that price for this commander deck.
Right.
And then as new cards are coming out, I was like, oh, this card is really good for this thing. Let me spend the full price for it and immediately slide it in. And so I've been trying to, I've been attempting to like cut back on that, like being selective on, okay, what sets am I looking forward to? What sets am I expecting good things out of?
Right.
And so, but it's still that like competitive urge on top of the high you get from opening packs and all that.
And like on the opposite side of that, I'd like take the money equation out of it, and this probably goes to any hobby that anybody's passionate about. But for me, another reason why I slowed down in it is it takes a lot of headspace because you're constantly having to think about prices going up and down. Because if rotation is happening for anything that you're into, or there's a card ban or anything like that, you have to be privy to it because you want to try and cash out early and make sure to get your value out of you. Because all hobbies have financially, when it comes to gaming, especially like outside of that, whatever. But like most gaming hobbies have diminishing returns when it comes to purchasing because you're buying in for the enjoyment. Like if you buy like a Warhammer army and you paint it and you do all that or whatever, if you want to sell that shit, normally a lot of people don't want to buy it painted and you have to strip all the paint off and you're not going to get the same amount of money that you got.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
Some people specifically want to buy painted armies. That way they don't have to paint
That's
it.
true too.
There's two sides on that coin.
But you will not get your money back.
I would argue though that like
100%.
most people when they get like a painted army, like unless it is like specifically something that is put on there is like I am a pro painter, I have painted this really really nicely for you to get painted.
That's a fair point, yes.
But most people, like if you're selling an army and it's painted, most people, and especially with like 40K, because everybody wants it their specific way. They want their army to look their specific way.
Yeah.
Because the 40K especially, they're like super weird about that shit.
Which is insane too, because like if I enjoyed also that's part of like so like. Let's jump to miniature gaming, especially the painted one for a minute there, because I will always like asking you guys questions because you're into the hobby and everything like that. Like painting is part of that hobby.
It
like
can
painting,
be, yes.
like a lot of people, like well maybe not a lot, but
I think
a portion,
most of the people who get into it also want to do like the
right. So
painting
you
and
have
stuff
like a bunch.
that.
There's a lot of things that are involved, and it's not just one hobby. It's multiples. Like you have painting,
Yeah,
and then you
there's
have the
different
strategy.
aspects of
You have
it.
the strategy game, but you also have another paintwall, which is the paints and the supplies that you have to deal with, the paints, the paintbrushes, airbrushes if you're doing that.
Well, yeah, there's paint brushes. There's a wet palette, tools to build the models, because you don't want to just use whatever.
Right.
You don't want to just break out the scissors and start cutting up sprues.
Right.
You need to have decent glue. So it's not ever just buying the models. There's a lot of stuff on
The
top of it.
accessories in that regard are variable, and that variable goes from relatively medium to exorbitantly high.
Yeah.
Right.
There was
For-
a really good Squidmar video where they broke down like how you can get like what's like the minimum needed to get in to do certain things in the like different, like the painting, the building the miniatures and everything like that.
I want to talk very briefly about the airbrush stuff just as an example.
Sure.
So probably, in my opinion, the best affordable airbrush, and it's because I think it's a special price at Hobby Lobby, is the Iwata Neo. It is a very simple airbrush. It's going to help you with your base coats. You might even be able to do some detail. Notice I didn't say fine detail. For some of the more fine detail stuff, you're going to look at like Harder and Steenbeck, and there's another one. Iwata also makes another fine detail airbrush as well. That's when you go from that special price at Hobby Lobby, was like $59 to $69. And that's for the airbrush. We're not even talking about the compressor.
Right.
That's a separate whole other thing. To $200 to $300 for like a Harder and Steenbeck, to somewhere in the neighborhood of like $700 for some like real, like if you want to talk about doing, and putting that in your hand doesn't make you masterful
Yeah, you have
at
to
it.
practice
You
with
then
it.
have to
Yeah.
practice and develop and do all those things there. So there's a lot of expenses down the line. Like it's a chain down the line almost. You
Right.
start with your beginner airbrush and then you get up to a new one and then you get some new accessories, a thinner needle, which will allow for a finer mist of paint and all these other things. Learning how to mix your paints because you can get the airbrush, so the specially mixed airbrush paint, and
Right.
it will work wonders for you. But you're probably paying a little bit more because the word air is on that paint.
Yeah.
Somebody's done something special to it, so they want to be paid for it. Understandable capitalism. But if you want to mix your own paints, that is a whole other fucking art by itself.
Yeah.
And involves sometimes backflowing where you like hold the tip of the airbrush and you hold the down and you let the paint mix in the cup with the water or thinner that you're using and hope that you've mixed it up right, and maybe you haven't, and then you have to either dump that out or finish it off and then try again. Oh, your airbrush jammed. Well, I hope you have a fucking degree in engineering because we have to pull this whole thing apart and take it piece by piece.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious in that regard, but I would say the first time you get an airbrush, pull it apart and maybe even like have your camera open and filming you doing it so that so this unscrews here and then this comes out and this comes out and then this is here and this is here. And the reason why that is, if something along that line has fucked up and you don't want to have to buy a whole new fucking airbrush, you need to know where these parts are and
Right.
what might be a problem with there. I know people that specifically demand get interdental brushes solely so you can clean the nozzle on your airbrush.
Right.
If you want to do that. So if you want to talk about the depth of where you can go just in the, like, I'm getting these models, miniature painting, and really I think any kind of collecting where you were doing art, where I think if you're doing your own art and like collecting into, there's something I think to be said as far as a collecting there.
Right.
If you're getting into that type of hobby, I think it really behooves you to learn, like, you don't ever have to do airbrushing. You can just do a paint, but even with a paintbrush, well, how long, like synthetic or sable hair, what's the
Right.
difference and why it's better, and what are the techniques to use, and the paint gets into the ferrules, why is that bad? If you're going to do this, learn a little bit so that you can avoid some pitfalls that will end up costing you more money down the line,
Right.
and a lot of damage to the tools that you're going to be using.
Yeah. On the other end, if you are interested in just playing the game, I think you can get the stuff to, build the army, put the army together, and get it onto the I have my entire Zinch army. Nothing is even primed. I don't even know when I'll get around to painting my Zinch army because it's a million fucking things on every fucking model.
Right.
But I like playing that. I like playing that fucking army, and I like the rules, and I like building armies, and I like how it works on the table. So if I feel like playing it, I'll play it, and it just has to be a gray army. So yeah.
And what's particularly funny about that for me is Zinch is one of those armies where color can matter for
Yeah.
units, because there's pink horrors and then there's blue horrors.
Yeah.
And if you understand the profile and you know the profile, that's not a problem. But I could see someone like at a tournament, like if they were allowing gray armies, like going, well, what the fuck are those supposed to be? And then and they might even know, and they're doing it just to do it.
Oh yeah, people can be assholes in like tournaments.
There's something in the collecting hobby. You might like the hobby, but you might not like the people you're sharing the hobby with.
Yeah,
and that can be annoying.
I'll
Yeah.
get into that in a second. I want to talk about card games and the hidden fees. What do I mean by hidden fees? Well, eventually you have to change sleeves.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you build a new deck, you don't feel like de-sleeving the old deck.
Yeah.
You
just wanna
have
buy-
to buy sleeves.
You have
in
to
the
buy
first
some
place.
sleeves.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep your deck in a rubber band. You got to put it in a deck
Oh
box.
man, that
Yeah.
deck box you got's kind of shitty. Man, look at that new sparkly clear plastic one that's like only $13 to $14. Yeah, I probably spent like $200 on deck boxes and like sleeves last year.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, I have too many deck boxes. If only I had a
a carrying case that cost me $50.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a carrying case that cost me $50.
I'm reminded of the old Gundam model ads that used to be on the late 90s and 2000s, and the tagline is, "What is your level of commitment?" Which usually is proportional to what is your level of income.
Right. And you
Yeah.
know, speaking of like another little side note, speaking of Gundam models, for some reason both game exchanges has like a shit ton of Gundam models.
Oh, yeah.
and
they like everywhere. If you have any like fucking Gamers and Geeks and Mobile has like an entire
They have
aisle of mostly
Yeah.
Gundam models, but also other like anime models
Robo.
that you can make.
Jackson
Robo.
Biloxi, same deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
big Robo stuff.
A friend of mine, he does in his spare time, he collects those buildable Gundam models.
Yeah.
And he puts them in a display case in his game.
That was like the first thing really that like when it came to like models that I collected, because they used to sell like the lower the easier kits in like Walmart.
Yeah.
Like I would buy I had all of the Gundam Wing like those original Gundams models, the smaller versions, and then I got some bigger ones too. Because it is like those are actually like a low ceiling, especially like the simpler ones. Because you don't ever feel like because they come with stickers and all the plastic is colored how it's supposed to be colored, so you don't ever feel like you have to paint them. Like I put them together and would just pose them, and that's this is I did it, and it was easy. And I don't even remember, I didn't even have like snippers or anything. I don't even know. Did I use fucking scissors to take them out of the spruce?
Probably
I
did.
have
Maybe.
no fucking idea.
I think also most of those models that are currently in Game Exchange are Japanese with Japanese instructions.
Oh yeah, they just well, yeah, it's all like numbers now, I think. But like but yeah, that's like a huge thing now,
Undertaking,
and
yeah.
I've gotten away from it.
Our friend John Sheldon, that's one of his miniature.
Yeah.
That's one of his miniature things is to collect those guys,
Right.
and put them together.
I still
and display them.
like they're cool. I just don't like Gundam has passed me by so much. Like there's so many Gundams that I don't even understand.
I never realized until you told me about it that you don't paint Gundam with paint. You do it with markers.
Yeah, they have Gundam markers. Like they have
What the fuck?
Yes.
They have their
Yes.
own. They're like
Yes.
they're like different thicknesses and colors and different like they're literally called Gundam markers,
That's
where you get like
wild.
a pack of them and it'll be like
I
there's-
did not know
this has a
that.
green, this
What
has
the
a
fuck?
and but it's because they come with stickers and everything too and everything. So like you shouldn't ever, and I think mostly like there's like a black one for doing all the little lines and stuff and like that. You can paint them and you can prime and paint them, but like the big way to do them is with the Gundam markers.
You would think that you would at least want to airbrush a base coat of something on there, but
I don't know. I've heard that they're like, I don't know if they're like higher quality markers and stuff like that. Like they're not just like Crayola
They
shit.
they charge them like they're higher quality markers.
Yeah, I've never used the markers because by the time, well, at the time where I like found out about them, I was like, you don't even really have to glue Gundam models.
they're like snap fit.
They're push fit, so they all like fit pretty snugly. Like you might
that's
have a
pretty
loose,
cool.
you might have a loose thing here and there, but
Right.
like you don't ever like I never use glue with any of mine.
Oh, that's pretty rad.
Games Workshop adopted that with their starter kits for the most part. They
Starter
put,
kits, Underworld are all push fit.
Yeah.
I still glue them though because I'm nuts.
No, well,
Even though it's
I'll
not
join
really,
you with that because I
it's
do
not
the
re-
same thing.
It's actually like harder to glue because like the push fits for Games Workshop are so tight that like they don't really give you. You have to be careful where you glue because they don't give you room for that glue to actually be
Right.
there. Whereas like the other sprue models like do.
I go
So-
with a drop of acetone just right because it's liquid
Yeah.
and you push it in there and then it'll melt that area around it and then
Yeah,
connect it with the other stuff.
acetone works best because it doesn't expand like the other
Right.
stuff does.
Right.
But yeah, it's the Gundam stuff is like super interesting. I just like I see a model and I'm like, and it like just washes over me. Like I can't even understand what the fuck this is. Like this is like 18 Gundam shows ago that I stopped watching.
There's a lot of Gundam shows.
So like.
There's also and for collectibles, there's also your special collector's editions, right?
Yeah.
So I saw one of these the other day, and I was so envious because of an episode we did not too long ago. There's a lot of stuff in my feed that pops up that's like Akira and Ghost in the Shell related.
Yeah.
And this guy was showing off.
Now that you mention it, I have been seeing a lot of like Hulu and Amazon Prime ads about Ghost in the Shell and Akira.
Yeah.
This guy had a special box set of the Akira omnibus, books, which are like the 6 volumes,
Yeah.
like the 6 big volumes. And it was in this special box that opened up and flipped into the cityscape. The motorcycle opens up into the cityscape and all that
Yeah.
for the box. Super cool. He paid $99 for it. He got a really good deal
Wow.
because it's $500 anywhere else,
Yeah.
and that's another thing.
I got the Ultimate Edition. When they re-released Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is my favorite anime, on Blu-ray. I got the Ultimate Edition of that. Mainly because it was the only one that had like the original dubs on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
All if you get it now, they all have like the Netflix dubs, which I have my own problems with.
Right.
And that's another story.
Right.
But I got it, and it's a really nice big set. Although there were some problems with the shipping where there was a little bit of damage here and there, but I'm lazy, so but yeah, it came with like all of this shit, and I think it was like $250. I can't remember if that's exactly, but I think that's about how much. I'm trying not to think too hard about it.
CoastCon last year, one of the anime vendors had 2 copies of a leather-bound, gold embossed Volume 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I had mentioned that in one of our chats with our friend Jared Hubbard, and he was like, "What?" It's like, and like as soon as I turned back around, like it had already sold, and it was like, "Hey man, how much was that? How much were those?" Well, one of them alone's $300. It's like, okay,
Jesus.
okay, but again, like if you are a collector,
If that is something you want,
if you collect anime, or if you specifically are a fan of Jujutsu Kaisen,
Right.
yeah, I can absolutely 100% believe you would spend it would not be anathema to at least consider spending $300 on a very premium piece of what you love or what you are interested in.
one of the things. Did you want to say something, Brady?
Where were you going with it?
I was going to talk about collecting Junji Ito books. What were you going to say?
Well, just when it comes to like special editions of things, one of the things that one of my favorite bands is Coheed and Cambria, and since their 6th album, I've gotten like their special edition every time, and it's always been this big production. One of them came with like one of the characters in one of the stories wears this specific mask, and they came with a version of that mask. This last one came with like a light thing that represented some item in the story. So they often will have like literal storybooks of like, this is what the story of this album is. So I since like the 6th album, I've been getting those, and I think the 6th album is really when they started doing those really special editions. But I always, as soon as I find out about it, I pre-order it, and it comes in, and they're all real nice production.
One of my issues with collecting nowadays is that I have a really terrible habit of not focusing on specific things, and what I mean by that is that, much like everybody else in this room, I have way too many interests. I really do.
Yeah.
And so I've been slowly collecting and purchasing all the hardback Junji Ito omnibuses that have been released. For example, like Uzumaki is a complete series in one hardback manga book, as well.
I have to imagine that if you hit somebody with that book, you would go to jail for a long time.
Especially that one, not so much. Tomei, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Tomei was one of his like first works. It was like long running, and a couple other ones. But like since the Netflix special, they've been releasing a lot of his short stories and small book compilations as well, in small hardbacks. And so I've been doing that, and then after I get done collecting those, because again, there was a moment where we were talking about things going out of print. It was one of the big manga publishers. I don't remember if it was like Viz Media or one of the other ones, but they went out of business. And so the thing is, like, who's got the distribution rights to those things in America? So that's another reason why I want to get those, so I can have them just in case.
For the longest, until was it last year or the year before, whenever the Blu-rays for Neon Genesis Evangelion came out, like that, like you couldn't get DVDs
Right.
of the show. You couldn't see the show anywhere because there was
Right.
no American distribution. There was
Right.
no American streaming rights. So like
Yeah.
the editions, the DVD editions that I had were the only way to get it. Well, I don't know. I fucked up there. Were like you couldn't get those anymore.
Right.
So like I
They
was
were the
sitting
only
there and
mass market
Yeah.
access you'd have to them.
it's, like and those you couldn't find anymore.
Right.
So like the original run of the DVD set that I have, like that's long been gone. And I had
Right.
like a holiday edition, and then they did like, well, between that they did a platinum edition where they like cleaned up things.
Mm-hmm.
But I sold, but I gave that away to a friend. I've had. That's my thing. If it's something that I really like, I buy multiple versions of it. I have several versions of Old Boy. I have several versions of Neon Genesis Evangelion. So things that I really like, I get multiples of in different variations.
That's understandable too. Yeah. Like after I get done collecting that, I'm probably gonna like a newer company that only does omnibus, which just in case anybody, omnibus is a full collection. That's what it's the quintessential like whole thing.
Yeah.
Like so, for example, I have the omnibus of H.P. Lovecraft's entire work, including his essays, which I'll never read, but. I do.
Sure, he
have
has some interesting thoughts there.
exactly, and I got that for $50 on sale.
Oh, okay.
And they're little hardback books in the whole collection of little hardback books of all this stuff, and it's all sectioned off. It's very, very neat if you're OCD.
I got
Look, Dream Worlds.
one of my
Dreamlands.
my aunt. She's really my great aunt on my dad's side. She had like it was 2 volumes of like the collected works of William Shakespeare in like 2 small books. And I still
Right.
have those, and I really like just having those to know like, okay, if I want to read anything, I can just go to this. I probably won't, but I have it. That's my thing. Like okay, I have it. I will probably never use it,
Right.
but I have it. That's where I am with a lot of stuff. But yeah.
But this newer manga company is doing retro omnibuses. So like I think I let you borrow the first volume of the Captain Harlock one,
yeah.
and they're having a second one. They're having a third one come out this year, I think, or a fourth one. And so I'm going to get on that. So that's where I am like currently in my like non-magic collection stuff going on.
So there's a movie that came out, the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and at the AMC theater in Mobile, they had these limited edition D20 popcorn buckets that they were only exclusively selling at AMC theaters.
Yeah.
A friend of mine texted me, "Hey, I got 3 of those. They're currently selling on eBay for $120 a piece."
Jesus
Oh man,
Christ.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what the Dune ones are going to sell.
Dune.
For.
Yeah, I can't wait. I want one of those buckets.
That's a fucking nightmare.
I want to creep people the fuck out with those buckets.
Have you not
doesn't
seen
know.
those?
I've
Have you
not
not
seen
seen
those.
those?
Okay,
No.
ladies and gentlemen, a omnibus first. Ethan is going to experience.
What the fuck? What? What?
Yeah, don't you just want to reach
That-
your hand in there and get some popcorn?
That can't be real.
Designed it, Ethan. From the depths of Tartarus, I designed it.
What the fuck?
Somebody's
Yeah.
going to lose their virginity with that thing.
Yeah, for real.
Or they're gonna get it back. Don't ask how.
I'm in a Dune fan group on. I know.
Yeah.
He's seen it.
I'm in a Dune fan group on Facebook, and like I love the way they posted it because they posted the first picture was just like the side profile. I was like, oh, that's a sandworm. That's pretty cool. And you scroll up a little bit. I'm like, that's not cool at all.
That's a
man.
sandworm. No, it's a fleshlight.
Yeah,
With
that's
teeth.
terrible. But there's a lot of like,
Somewhat, I think it was like Shai Halud.
I know a lot of people, I think it's mostly people who work at theaters that tend to get like all the little pop-ups, the little standees and stuff that they get
Right.
from theaters, and like the movie posters. There's a big thing with that.
I wish I could have had ready on the soundboard this line from Stilgar from Dune 1984. We've got Wormsign, the likes of which God has never seen.
But yeah, things from like theaters, like movie posters and standees and stuff like that are a big deal, and little things like that.
The crazy ones, dude, they're like wall sized. They're like fucking like there was one for Spider-Man that was like it was like fucking 10 feet by 5 feet or something.
It used to be, and I think some of this is like there's an art to like movie posters and standees and things like that has kind of been lost nowadays, because there haven't really been many that I've walked into the theater and been like, oh my God.
Right.
But used to, I remember all the time there were like, especially like the big, full size standees, and be like, oh shit, this
There's
is so
been a
fucking
loss
cool.
of uniqueness in that area.
Well, it comes from corporatism and capitalism just trying its best to just kill the fuck out of creativity.
If I have to see another movie poster with an orange and blue tint to it.
Oh, you don't want, or how about
it's orange and teal?
what about the kind of purplish ones where it's just got everybody kind of looking off into the middle distance?
Oh, you mean like the floating heads?
Yeah, the floating heads looking off in the middle of distance.
Yeah,
Isn't
very
that?
and very bored.
Yeah.
Or as Mega 64 once said with video game covers, chin down, eyes up.
I think on the episode when we were talking about different art, I was talking about the documentary about the guy who did like 90% of the posters in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
That shit's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, that
You
guy
should-
is great. He did like all the Star Wars and shit like that.
Big Trouble in Little China,
Trouble in Little
Gremlins,
China.
like everything.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that a lot of this, like, there aren't really those cool things like that when it comes to like movie posters and things like that. Like nobody's gonna have fucking like a. It's not gonna. There's nothing like the the Scarface poster or anything like
Right.
that. That's gonna be a big thing anymore, because it's just pumping out this stuff. We don't give a shit about how cool it looks. We just want the bare minimum to do. But
instead we get the Dune vagina cup.
yeah, you get the Dune vagina cup with the
that is-
vagina dentata.
That is
be,
creativity.
yeah, we
something.
took the creativity from the posters and we put it into the popcorn bowl.
buckets.
I'm calling it right now. Denny Villeneuve created that bucket.
I mean, he might have. He is French.
He is the Dave Thomas of popcorn buckets.
Well, I think he's French Canadian, but there's not a difference. We're gonna piss somebody off.
Yeah, no, the French in France
Yeah.
specifically.
I like to think it's Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune cup.
But I think a lot of the reason that just to kind of wrap it up, I think a lot of the reason that I like, and I've said it several times, that I collect things as a hobby is because I want to kind of just have the things
Have the
there
things.
and know that
the
at any
things for
time.
you.
And there is a difference. I was thinking about it because like I collect some comic books, but I also collect a lot of like graphic novels
To read.
And the graphic novels are there to, okay, I want to read this story. Let me pull it down and read it. Whereas, most of the comic books that I have, the individual issues, I read it once and then don't go back to it, even though there are things that I've managed to collect in the last few years that have been whole storylines of newer things that I do want to go back to, but it is a little bit harder. But those are a lot of like, there was some new Sandman, some new series that took place in the Sandman universe.
Right.
And the first one of those, like the first like preview issue had like multiple covers. So I was
Right.
like, well, I want to collect all of these covers. And then now I just have them kind of hanging up on my wall. But when it comes to like comics, most of it's like, okay, I have this box of comics. I'm just going to put it in there for
Right.
later to just kind of save. Not that I'm thinking that it's going to be worth anything. I don't think
Sure.
I didn't buy those covers for anything special. I
Right.
just wanted them to have, it's a piece of art that I basically bought for my wall. But when it comes to like, a graphic novel or a book or an RPG book, I get it to if I don't play the RPG, I want it just to read through the world and shit like that. But again, like what I said, like I was saying, most of the reason that I collect things as a hobby is because I just want to kind of, again,
you want to enjoy them.
hoard it and just have it there
Have it
to know
there
that
for
if
whenever you
I
want
do
it.
want it and do want to read it or play it
Right.
or watch it or whatever, it's there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's
And-
kind of my ethos when it
Yeah,
comes to like
and
collecting.
sometimes like I have like FOMO from it too, like especially when it comes to, like certain things. Like there was like many years ago when they did the Tales from the Crypt reprints in the early '90s, they had an advert in there for a complete leather-bound version of all of one specific EC comic. It'd be like, you know, Weird Fantasy, like the whole collection for $50. Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and Crypt of Terror, those were all like in the $150, $200 range. But man, would have been so worth it if I would have done it back in the day and regret it now.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
FOMO and nostalgia are big. Nostalgia is what's really driven my like trying to hunt down RPGs, video games.
Yeah,
I haven't had any success in it, but it has made me like go to these places and like at least look.
Jade Cocoon is only $300 on PS1.
Hey, you want to go to Gaming Exchange in D'Iberville? You can get Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo in box for like $400.
That's actually cheaper than it was.
Or
It
you
might
still
be more
expensive.
now.
Or you
I
can
haven't-
buy
haven't
it
been
on
there.
Steam for $15.
You can do that if you want to play
Or
it.
I have it free on the Nintendo emulator thing that Nintendo put out a while
you go.
back.
Oh,
The
that's true.
Nintendo emulator.
The
Yeah,
Nintendo
the mini
emulator.
Super NES, I think.
Yeah,
right?
the Win Mini Super Nintendo.
Is
I
Chrono
think.
Trigger on that thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a base game. I have more than
I know-
than
I
just
know.
the base game.
We found him. He's emulating.
No, I swear I own all of
Nintendo,
those
get him.
games.
No.
Nintendo, get
yes,
him.
get him instead of Palworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably would before they
Yeah.
got to Palworld.
I'm gonna leave mine with just a simple piece of advice for board game collectors. It is healthy, and I believe eventually necessary to cull your collection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the space itself.
Yeah.
Just the space
yeah.
itself.
I had to do that with board games because I was collecting board games for a while too, and like once I got to a certain point, I'm like half of these are still sealed. I kind of had to put the brakes on.
Yeah.
That's also not to mention. Like,
I've tried
expansions
to
and
cull mine. I
DLCs.
just don't want to throw mine away, and I can't give them away. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take a look at them. Me and Ethan will probably split them up between ourselves.
I'll take a picture of the 3 stacks that I have.
Sweet.
Dude, I loved it. I love purchasing or getting board games.
I will just
from
give
friends.
them away. I'm trying to just
We'll
give
take
them
'em.
away.
He's gonna
Board
pay you
games.
for them. Shut up.
Give them to me and I'll sell them to Ethan for half price.
There you go. No. Anything else we want to add on? To,
I mean,
collecting?
like I think collecting can add to your already existing passion to something that you
Yes.
love.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just like an extra layer of like, how much do you like? I mean, you can measure how much you like something, but you can if you buy all the figures that represent how much you like something.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
man, that fucking like, well, back in 2001. Oh man, I have to mention this one thing. I was over at Roger's house the other night.
We were so close.
And Roger has the when the 2001 release on DVD of Akira came out with the new dub, they released a an art book. That,
Oh, wow.
And it's in Japanese, which is cool as fuck because you don't need to
Yeah.
read it. And it has every storyboard and every what's it called, like concept design for like the motorcycle Tetsuo.
Jesus.
It's got stills from the cells in it. Like I looked at that book
Damn.
for like 20 minutes. I'm like, this is like the coolest shit I've ever seen. And that's why you collect things. That kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. I was watching a history of this short history of Akira, and they were talking about how there was a premium Kaneda and motorcycle figure made that was like $200-$300.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the one
I
I
was
was
like-
thinking about just now
I was
before I,
like, oh
mentioned
man,
that
that
book.
thing looks so sweet. And
It
he was
is
like,
so cool.
$200.
I honestly wish B was still here so she could regale us with the $1,000 fucking
yeah.
plushies. That blew my as far
she
as
was
limited
telling-
edition shit. Yeah.
Oh,
This is a perfect ender. Here we
Yeah.
go.
So Bianca enlightened both me and Jay that there are squishmallows, like glorified stuffed animal pillows.
Yes.
that are being sold upwards of $1,300.
Yeah.
Because they only made 50 of them.
Yes.
Yeah. This is
And it's just a black cat in a witch hat.
I remember another
it's
stuffed
Beanie Babies all over again.
I was about to say, I remember another stuffed thing that at one point,
I do not
Yeah.
recall Smoochie the Frog being anything more than maybe $30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
some of them weren't worth a lot. Some of them were worth astronomical prices.
yeah,
But they're not
It's just
now.
there's like fad things that come and go. Also, speaking of collectible things, if you collect those Stanleys, you might want to test them for lead.
Oh,
Because I have been seeing those showing up positive.
Or do you collect
for
lead?
Yeah.
Well-
I mean, you probably do because it doesn't leave your body. There's no once it's there, there's no way to get rid of it.
That's why they had to take it out of paint.
Yeah.
In the 1970s.
And
Jesus.
And gas
Or 80s.
in the 90s.
Yeah, you're right.
but she's telling me and Jay about these $1,000+ squishmallows, and I so casually walk away from the table and I grabbed a stuffed animal that in the form of a squishmallow. I said, Bianca, this is $10. I'm not going to be upset when our dog eats this as opposed to the $1,300 one that you want.
Yeah.
And you and Jay possibly kill my dog.
Yeah.
Please don't kill my dog.
You just
Jay.
want it because it's a squishmallow
yeah.
that says Louis Vuitton on it.
Yeah, there's
no.
the like all
It hardly says anything on it. Like there's almost no features.
It's just a
lot
design.
of
It's a
a lot of
pillow.
collectible stuff come from like fads, like
Right.
the Beanie Babies, the Stanley Cups. In a year from now, like nobody will give a shit
You
about
make a
those.
demand.
The Squishmallows eventually
There's gonna be another Tumblr company.
It's a
all
pet
of those
rocks.
all of those bubbles are going to pop.
Yeah.
Well, pet rocks were never like
No.
selling for like ridiculous.
No,
amounts
but
of
they're
money.
selling still.
Yeah.
You can still buy them.
It's a long tail,
Yeah.
basically.
um
I
made
remember when Stanley Cups were only won by hockey teams.
yeah, same.
well, used to it was just like the big green thermos, and that was the only thing that you knew Stanley.
The guy
for,
made $1
but-
million the first year he sold a rock within a box.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Well, the same guy who
Good man.
like is behind all of this stuff with Stanley was also the same guy behind the croc phenomenon.
Oh.
Crocs.
Mm.
So there's a lot of like thought with that. But yeah, if you like to collect it, it's fine.
If you want to collect Crocs, go ahead.
spend whatever you want to spend your money on. I would say don't trample people in Target just to get the one special colored one. Or pay exorbitant amounts or like have to put a lien on your house to get one from off of eBay. But I mean, do the shit within your means. Like don't go, you know, we've talked about spending exorbitant amounts of money, but we all are also not, you know, we're all
not
able to pay.
bankrupting
We're able to pay our
ourselves.
bills when the time fucking comes.
I'm not putting
So,
a mortgage on a house I don't own.
Yeah. They're of all the shit
That's
that
the best house to put a mortgage on. What? It's like if you can get the money from the mortgage and you just dip, and then the person whose house isn't yours has to pay for it. That's the best time.
We've enjoyed talking. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the show.
Travelers on the omnibus are not realtors and don't know anything about selling or buying a house.
Don't-
So please don't take any.
Don't forge documents to get a mortgage on somebody's house and then take the money and run. Don't
Yeah.
do that. That's bad. That's
that
bad
would be
things.
bad.
What you do though is you shop at Mackinac Gaming.
Oh,
Oh, we're leading off with that plug.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Go for it. You did it, boss.
Yeah.
Mackinac Gaming, located in Goshen, Mississippi. They have everything for your board gaming, card gaming, tabletop, RPG,
Hobby
gaming,
collecting.
hobby collecting needs. They have miniatures. They have supplemental books for D&D. I don't believe they
Multiple RPGs.
multiple RPGs.
Glow in the dark dice.
Glow in the dark dice.
We got a lot of dice.
Many dice.
Liquid core dice.
And Lorcana singles.
Lorcana,
Oh, yeah.
Magic, Pokemon.
Yes, they've finally opened up a binder for those.
Nice.
If you enjoy nerdy shit and gaming, McNub Gaming probably has it. God Emperor Cameron.
Yeah.
God Emperor
Do you
Cameron.
want a mini for your D&D? Come on down. They have that mini.
Yes.
I promise you.
They definitely have.
Yes.
And the sleeves, any size,
Do you want
They
to
have
sleeve
that.
your minis?
you
Do
can,
it.
you can
the
do
new
it.
Deck
Cortexes that they have, I don't like them for double sleeved decks.
They're not good for double
They're not.
sleeve.
They're not wide. They're not long enough. I wish I would have known that before I bought that pack.
Yeah.
They are cheaper too, though.
Yeah, they're like $9 instead
Right.
of $14
Right.
for the. Well, I think $14 is the dual mats. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking pay attention to that shit. But
Jay, plug someone.
yeah.
Bearded Drums. Our friends Stephen Nelson II and Jared Taylor talk about all things drumming from gear to gigs, including live performances recorded elsewhere. Think about how that works. It has something to do with time and space. I have no idea. But again, that is Bearded Drums on all major podcasting avenues and on YouTube.
But time is a flat circle. I don't remember the rest.
Your mother's a whore.
Something nihilism.
Some
That's
may
all I
call
remember.
me a villain.
Jesus. Jody.
What we have here is a failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what you got last week. Well, he wants it. Well, he gets it.
Down,
I
down,
don't
down,
like
down,
this
down, down, down.
any more than you
Now,
do.
now tell me how you found Elvis in the carnival.
Jody, please plug someone.
Fuck you. That's from Cool Hand Luke.
That is
That
pretty cool.
was-
I know where that was from.
That was good.
That was good.
Tom Hanks and Elvis is
was
bad.
bad. Yes, he was trying to do that guy from Cool Hand Luke.
I think so, and he
that's-
failed so
I just
hard.
think he had too many lead paint chips.
I just think he took advantage of no one knows how Colonel Parker sounds in real life.
like Jim Ross after anyway. So Fearology. It's a show I host.
Hold on.
Hold
on. When I give you the signal, say Fearology again.
Fearology. A show that I host sometimes.
We tried, people.
Tune in soon where I may or may not talk about our impending nuclear holocaust. It's on Spotify.
That's depressing.
Brady, mention a friend.
Whiskey and wrestling. Our friends Jason Holder and Michael Hill, they talk about wrestling and then they pair that with a whiskey. The whiskey and the wrestling doesn't necessarily have anything to do with each other. But they do talk about, you know, how it tastes.
We did MF Dooms.
We did. You
last
did MF
episode.
They
Dooms?
did do
Okay.
MF Dooms.
That was great.
That's great. I have given. I did not think that what that what Jay would get out of the album Food would be a recipe for a cocktail.
It's very simple. It's cherry Coke and Hennessy. Boom, done.
Yeah, but listen to their takes on wrestling. There's been a lot of interesting. Is one
Developments.
word to say.
67 pages.
Yeah.
We recorded last week, literally hours. If you wanted, like, by the whole before the major thing about that came out, holy hell, we were just babes in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, check them out if you want to hear about wrestling and also hear about people drinking liquor. If that sounds cool to you, check them out wherever podcasts are. It's sold, grown, harvested. I don't
Obtained.
fucking know. I don't know how this shit works. I'm just here.
Hey Brady,
Yeah.
do another one.
Yeah. Pass.
Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
He doesn't know anybody on the completed podcast, unlike you, Ethan.
I do know someone. I know
It's
multiple
after
people. on the
12.
completed
I'm
podcast.
tired.
Yes.
Hosted by Christopher Vega, Brandon Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith. They are a Magic the Gathering centered podcast talking about competitive Magic, set reviews, personal takes on Magic, convention stories, Outback Steakhouse, Louisiana. They have.
I like how there was a comma pause, so it's like Outback and Louisiana.
Yeah.
Great. They're great.
They have really deep thoughted conversations with other professional Magic players. Brandon Scott Tanner being a professional Magic player.
Is Brandon Scott Tanner a professional Magic player?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Again,
You know what's
that's
a deep thought? Nicki Minaj.
That is the opposite of a deep thought. That is a meltdown.
the completed
sir.
podcast.
I've got a deep thought for you.
A deep thought.
42. All right. Moving on.
Gotcha. And I believe silence your cell phones. I didn't get mentioned yet.
Well, why don't you keep mentioning them?
Yes.
Yeah, silence your cell phones. podcast hosted.
Yeah, man, you tried to establish your dominance as host, and we just was like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to do all of them.
Hosted by Kevin Schoen and Jared Hubbard. I remember
There
their
you
names this
go.
time.
There you go. Good job. 10 out of 10.
One day we'll say them without going, before. But today is not that day.
Oh, do you realize we were doing that during JMOS?
What?
Like, it's like, oh, Kevin, hey, how you been? It's like,
I barely saw Kevin during J-Boss.
that is true.
I had my own
You had
shit that I
a
was
galaxy
dealing
to
with.
try to take over.
Yeah, 14 hours.
I had shit surrounding me.
Yeah.
That was at the beginning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh no, it was still prevalent. But no, they talk about movies and TV shows you should and should not be watching. They have a YouTube show whenever they feel like it, typically on Wednesdays live. Are they doing anything for the Oscars coming up?
They have not advised me of such, but they may. Who knows?
Gotcha. If you're interested or you want them to cover the Oscars, you should reach out to them at Silence Your Cell Phones. I believe
At hotmail.com.
.net.
I believe
Netscape Navigator.
I believe that's everything.
Yeah.
GeoCity site.
We probably don't want to announce
Wow.
what next week's is.
Angel
just in case.
Fire.
We are slowly passing the
Live
bus
journal.
stop.
Have we already
I'm
said
called-
GeoCities? I wasn't listening.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
did.
said it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for listening.
The hamster song site.
Jesus.
The
Joe Cartoon.
Newgrounds.
They're still going.
Yeah.
yeah.
Even with the death of Flash, they're still going.
Yeah.
for myself, I'm
Camp Chaos.
I
I've
don't know
I've
that
been
one.
Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
Jody Kite.
Thank you all for listening again. You'll hear from us next week.
Yeah. You want to find out what the fuck we're doing? You better tune in, motherfuckers.
There you go. It might be the thing we said about last week, but who knows?
Possibly.
Tune in next week when we review the Roger Zelazny novel Hand of Override.
No.
That's the fourth book.
No.
That's the fourth book.
Sign of
may-
the Unicorn.
We're not putting that in because we might not get around to it. And we're just going to confuse people some more. So we're not going to do that. So you're just going to have to wait and see what we're going to do. So
Okay,
just
the
wait
finale music went off.
and
Yeah.
see.